Hello, everybody. This is your Torador's Extended Warranty. Welcome to the Foxy Freedom Snapping Turtle, a channel where I normally have two co-hosts with me. I actually do in this particular instance, but one of them is a guest. I will kick it over to our resident Turtle Duck, who will introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm TurtleDuckINC Incorporated. I'm here for the next 15 minutes exactly to make a nuisance of myself.
As one does. And also introducing our guest Armin, another resident of Europe. Uh, he is a very lovely individual. If you would like to introduce yourself, Armin,
Hi, I'm Armin. I resent being called a European,
as one
and
does.
he should know this, but he doesn't. It's
He
very rude.
he does. He does.
I
Um,
feel like there's some aspects where being European is an acceptable thing. Like there are some things that Europeans are uniquely good at, like being racist towards each other.
Oh yeah, it's great.
yes, and for our resident Italian who hates the Pope, it's great actually. Um, so we're going to be talking about some stuff that's come across our timelines recently. Several of us, I'm sure, me specifically though, as well as some posts that me and Turtle Duck have actually had to deal with recently, where we have this system in which we call these people effectively toddlers. And it's, Elon Musk is now effectively, via net worth, a trillionaire, which means absolutely nothing to anyone who understands economics. But I will let the other two guests, or the other two hosts, roll first. So I'll go first on this, and I will actually bring up this. Um, and I need to pull up something else actually. Let me see here. As you can tell, scuffed as hell, but we're doing this live, as one does. And brought up screen share for you guys to see what I've got going on, so y'all can see it. So, first we have this picture, and it's by Alice Smith. It says top quality work by Bernie Sanders X. Elon's net worth 1 trillion. What Bernie thinks it is versus what it actually is. Building factories, using workers that are in those factories, rockets and engineers, the engineers of which have to get paid. The rockets, of course, have to be paid to get built, which means all of the resources dedicated to it, as well as the people building those parts, is money, but being put back into circulation, as well as Tesla and their customers, both the employees getting paid, the customers who are buying the products, etc. And this is one of those things where it's a general economic chat because there are too many people who don't know what economics is, and they have zero understanding of it whatsoever. But I wanted to bring this up for the first because it's probably the best representation I can bring up. But since the Turtle is only here for a short duration of time, I'm actually going to kick this over for her to kind of, break this down a little bit more.
I mean, it's kind of really downstream of people just like not understanding what net worth means. I swear to God, there's so many people at like anytime you meet someone, it was like, oh, like all of our problems are because of people who have like net worth like in the billions. Like that's what's causing all of our problems. It's like, do you like? I swear these people genuinely think that Elon Musk is now just sitting on $1 trillion, like twirling his mustache that he only gets out in private.
I mean, I think it's generous to say that these people are thinking.
For the sake of argument,
I mean,
Okay, for the
that's
sake of
true.
argument, it's assuming they are capable of genuine sentient thought, which is jury's still out on that one. The ones that say go to school for economics, they're not getting taught anything. Like, I swear, if you go up to half of these people, ask them, oh, what were you taught in the classroom this week? Did you cover Rothbard? Did you cover, like, Austrian school, Frankfurt school, any of that stuff, they're not going to know what the hell you're talking about.
That's fair.
It's just basic economic thought at that point.
Well, the funny thing is, when it comes to all of this, there's one thing that a lot of people don't seem to understand, and it's because they use net worth as a what a person is worth. But the realistic understanding of what being a trillionaire means is that probably a third of that supposed money doesn't even exist. Like, it is functionally existent in estimates and only estimates. That money isn't actually real. And it's never real until it gets exchanged through stocks and assets based off of estimations of how much those stocks or assets are worth. And those assets change. That doesn't mean that, like, if a company goes from like $1 billion net worth to $1 million net worth, that money is just like gone from the economic existence. It just means that people aren't willing to pay. The market just reflects that. And so to say that Elon Musk is worth like $1.1 trillion or 1.1 trillion, it's like, sure, but even if he were to liquidate his assets, and I actually ran this through several LLM models just to kind of get a good handle on it, including Claude, based off of our economic policies in the United States versus like liquidation, taxation on trading out stocks, and every other tax that we have in the United States, Elon would only be able to finish out if he liquidated all of his assets. Not even some of them, all of them, including all of his companies and like even his houses and what have you. He'd only end up with like 2 to 400 billion at most. And that's like a rough estimate.
And the house thing is actually like a really important thing to bring up because like something that people miss when you're talking about net worth, because this is like very nebulous. And I've mentioned this before, which is just you don't understand just how many net worth millionaires are out there, especially right now. For example, the house I live in is currently at a market value of like 350,000 pounds. Because this is England. It's in like 30 years ago, it sold for 85,000. So assume for a moment that you're a person who 30 years ago bought a house for like 85,000 in a neighborhood, and you just like you paid it off and you lived there for 30 years. And like the housing market just absolutely fucking crashed. And now like your net worth has like quadrupled because your house has gone up in value because the housing market is terrible. That's like what net worth is like. So anytime someone's like, oh, like look at all this money we could make if we just taxed the rich, and it's just like we should like all of this money that they're just sitting on, that we should tax them on, like what you would be taxing these people on, what that effectively means is this person who bought a house for a price 30 years ago, and then that property went up, like quadrupled in value because the housing market gets so much worse. If you're going to tax these, like net worth gains, that is money this person doesn't have. This person doesn't suddenly have an extra, like, several 100,000 lying around just because the house that they live in went up in value in the 30 years since they bought it. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And it's a really dangerous thing to pitch.
For having bought something 30 years ago.
Yeah, didn't you know it's your fault that you even own property. That's a white supremacist mentality, guys. You're not allowed actually to own property. That's whiteness.
Owning property is racism.
Yeah, apparently. But no, that's a valid point actually. Just because And that's one of the things that I've seen. Like I have a tweet up here by Nick Freitas. It's like Elon Musk creates 4,400 millionaires to include hundreds of working class people in one IPO. Bernie Sanders created one millionaire himself. Stop listening to socialists. They don't know how to create wealth, only how to steal it. And he's actually referring to this tweet by Bernie Sanders, which reads, Elon Musk's rise to trillionaire status is not a time to celebrate. It's a call to action to take on the unprecedented income and wealth inequality, I hate that term, that now exists, and the greed and power of the ruling class that is destroying the fabric of America. No, I think it's you socialist fucks. Our democracy cannot survive when one man who contributed 290 million to get Trump elected becomes $700 billion richer since Trump's election. There's not a correlation there, but fuck off. Our economy cannot sustain itself when one man owns more wealth than the bottom half of our society, when 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck, and when we have the highest rate of child poverty in any major nation, when our kids will have the lowest standard of living than their parents. Okay, so before I finish reading this, I have to address this point. This is a manipulation in language, and it's common amongst people who are generally Marxist. And the reason that they do this is because this is a manipulation of statistics. And it's like, okay, what is considered poverty? Well, if you go to areas like Northeast Texas or North Florida, what is poverty there is going to be drastically different than what poverty is in, say, California, New York, Washington, etc. Or if you go to Canada and figure out what their definition of poverty is versus like go to any European nation and figure out what their definition of poverty is. This is a manipulative term that they use because they can, and it's to scare you into believing that there's something going on that there's not. We have more fat people in the United States than almost any other country in the world. I think we're top 10 right now, somewhere in the top 10. I don't remember specifically where, of obese children. You aren't in extreme poverty if your kids are fucking fat.
Well, no, they are, but okay, so here's the fun part, right? They're fat because they're in poverty, but they're in poverty because they keep spending the money on dumb shit.
But yeah, this is actually consistently the through line of why are people poor? Well, because they make bad financial decisions.
Honestly, that is like a topic that people never want to go on about. Is, hey, why are people poor? And it's like, oh, you spent $300,000 on like Adidas clothing, or Nikes, or whatever fuckery it is.
Yeah, it's like, I know it was like the meme, like, I don't even remember when this was a meme, of like, oh, millennials would be able to afford houses if they stopped eating avocado toast, but it literally is like...
It's true!
You look at poor people, and they tell you stuff like, well, I have to get, like, you know, this big, like, Wendy's deal to feed myself because that's the cheapest food around. Like, it's literally not, you just need to learn how to cook, you dumb piece of shit.
It's true, though.
You can
The
get
fun I have
for so
with
cheap.
it all is being lectured on morals by these idiots when it's like, oh, you wake up and you eat avocado toast? You're lecturing me on morals. Tell me, where do all the avocados come from? Is the supply chain perhaps completely controlled by cartels?
But it's also like the original point I was going to make before I went on a tangent about avocado toast. It's like the people that you talk to that say these kinds of things of like oh, like it's so expensive to eat, like you can only get unhealthy food if you're poor, and like it's everything's so expensive. Like these poor people is consistently, they will do stuff like spend their money on takeout. They will do the stuff like, oh, I'm so poor I can't afford to pay rent this month, and then you check they have the newest iPhone. They go to Starbucks twice a week. Like, they always do these things like, oh, am I not allowed luxuries? Like, actually, kind of, if you're poor, you should make better financial decisions.
I mean, to play devil's advocate for a second, there was a point, not long ago, where the cheapest source of calories for a single day was a single McDonald's Saver Menu hamburger. Now that's not a good option in any stretch of the imagination. And,
No.
you know, you're gonna feel hungry at the end of it because you're only eating a single, like, hamburger, no fries, nothing, for an entire day. But I mean, the fact that that is no longer the case also speaks to a certain level of things have gone sideways a little.
One of the big things is like, I remember even like 6 years ago, and I can say like 6 years ago probably is a good estimate, and even before then, the McDonald's McDouble for the dollar menu was like $1, and even if whenever it was going up, I think it stayed under like $1.50, and it was just a double meat and cheese burger that you can get with all of the fixings or none of them. And normally, for most people, it was enough sustenance to get them through one meal of the day without having to get extra stuff like fries or a drink or whatever. But one of the bigger things is Turtle and Armin are actually both right. And that's why there's YouTubers out there right now making a killing, specifically Caleb Hammer, who is a financial YouTuber. And he's actually talked about this. He talked about this on Joe Rogan. He's talked about this on his regular podcast. He's done videos about it where he like is pointing the finger at people saying, okay, where is all of your money going? And they're like, well, I buy DoorDash twice a day. And it's like, what? You do realize they have like a 60 to 80% markup on the price that the restaurant themselves charge. And the restaurants are allowed to Caleb is fun. And they're allowed to upcharge on the app because it's kind of less of a convenience for them because you're not coming into the store, so they're not making any additional money off of you outside of just, whatever. But the funny thing is, you can just as easily call into some of these restaurants, order off of their menu, go in yourself and pick it up, and you're spending like 40 to 60% less if you're really that desperate to eat out. But meal prep is people's friends, and they just don't know how to cook.
Yeah, do you know how much food you can make for like basically no money if you literally just like bulk buy relatively shelf-stable like cheap ingredients like rice and potatoes and stuff? Like there's so few elements you need to make
use a crock pot
meal.
Make a forever stew.
Yeah, like there's so few like elements you need to make a complete meal that isn't terrible to eat, and you could just start off like very basic building blocks that are very cheap.
Yeah, they're extremely cheap, and it's so I could buy a 5-pound thing of meat or ground beef from Walmart. Definitely more expensive than it used to be, but still affordable, and I could buy 10 pounds of rice for almost nothing. Rice is so cheap, and so is like pasta even, and pasta sauces if you don't want to make it yourself. Like, cooking is one of the easiest things in the world, and the amount of people who are inept at cooking or just can't cook, most of the time it's because they don't want to, but also it's because they're a bunch of lazy fucks. And they're super entitled, and they think, well, if I'm not allowed to order DoorDash, I'm oppressed. No, you're not. You're literally more well off than anyone in the second or third world just by existing in the West, period.
I mean, it's clearly French propaganda when you think about it. Just,
the frogs. It's always the fucking frogs.
Don't rule anymore. Everything has to look fancy.
I just wanted to put this out there. Like, it is actually so easy to make pasta sauces. Like, the other week, I accidentally bought the wrong canned tomatoes. I got like ones with like peppers in. I am the least spice tolerant person you've ever met in your life, by the way. So I can't eat that shit. So what I did with it is I literally like put it in a pan with some onions and then some garlic, and then just dumped a bunch of pasta in it with a bit of like the cooking water, and it just instant pasta sauce.
Yep.
I mean, Italian food is a great example of that because it's like it starts getting a little more complex, but majority of their stuff is all made from what they call a base sauce. You make this sauce out of tomatoes. You can make it months in advance. You just jar it up, and then comes time, you put a little like salt, rosemary, thyme, whatever. Dependent on what you're using. You could make a pizza. You can make pasta. Various different soups.
I love soup. Point being, learn how to cook, everyone.
Pretty much, yeah.
Learn how to cook. It'll make your life much easier, and...
Yeah,
I'm gonna stand the onion soup. That's the one I think doesn't get enough love.
Onion soup.
Yeah, 3 onions, chop it up.
For once, the French have a point.
Yeah. Well, you have to be careful because there's a couple different variations. You gotta caramelize it, right? Here's my take on it. Caramelize it. You throw it in some wheat to thicken it up once it's caramelized. Throw that into beef stock. Season with salt and pepper. That's it. You're good.
Yeah, there's actually a simple recipe I normally make for stuff that I meal prep, or if I ever meal prep. I literally get a bag of mixed vegetables, which is literally peppers and onions, thrown together, like finely diced, and you can get it just frozen from Walmart. And I get that, I get rice, and then I either get beef or chicken of whatever kind, and I can literally make probably like 5, 6, 7 meals out of that if I want to, and it's super easy to do, like, unless I overeat, which I kind of do sometimes, and yet still somehow in a healthy physique, I guess. But like 5 or 6 meals for that cost alone, or more, depending on if you like ration, like, that's a lot of value just in and of itself. And a lot of people just don't seem to understand that if there is a difference between a want and a need. There are things that you can want, and you have to realize if it's something that you want, sure, but you can't blame other people if you're broke or poor. If you're literally buying stuff that you want rather than stuff that you need. It's a really simple concept, and a lot of people don't get it. But I'm going to pop over to this video real quick while we still have everybody, because Bernie Sanders is a fucking lunatic. And I think he's kind of just a broad-faced moron. But we're going to turn this up and listen to this, because this is Bernie Sanders on Fox News defending his private jet.
5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30.
Yeah, I've gone like almost 10 minutes over.
Okay, you got to go?
Yeah.
All right, have fun.
I'm going to bed. You guys have fun.
All right, later.
We're
Okay.
gonna say naughty things.
Naughty
ideas.
All of the naughty things. All right, this is piece of shit Sanders himself.
5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future. 5 rallies.
Yeah. So basically, he's just saying, oh, well, people are waiting for me, so why should I make them wait, Why would I be waiting in a line at an airline when I could just take a private jet? And this is always the branch that they use to cross over to say, oh, well, it's fine when I do it. It's always fine whenever people who make it wealthy. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire who has 3 homes. His wife has effectively always been extremely wealthy. And he sold a book about freaking socialism, and he made it rich. And it's always the socialists that are the biggest capitalists. They always are, and they're always going to be, because communism is literally a fake ideology made to make the 1% go from 1% to 0.01%, but they want to be the 0.01%. They're going to pull the ladder up behind them, and then put everyone into a equal state of extreme poverty, because their version of society doesn't bring people up. It brings people down, because people can't truly be equal unless they're all equal at the bottom, while people like him get to have 3 to 5 to 10 different homes. Because, no, guys, you don't understand. He's not the bourgeois. He is the future dictator of the proletariat.
I mean, it's all goofy at the end of the day, because to the effect that he's rambling on about this crap, he's shooting himself in the foot, because any right-winger or Republican, whatever the hell you want to call it, not that any of it actually means anything.
Not anymore, really.
Yeah. Nobody's going to bat an eye at them taking a private jet to get places, because they're not the ones going, actually, you should all drive by horse and cart. Or, better yet, travel on a publicly owned horse and cart, because don't you know owning your own horse is bad for you?
Yeah, only the people,
like,
only the
nobody
state
cares
is
about them.
allowed to
They're
own
not
it.
the ones that are, screaming bloody murder. But, he is, so that's why he's getting the shit flung his way. I mean, frankly speaking, it all ends up getting particularly stupid when people... Because you end up in a situation where people are going, oh, communism, capitalism. Like, I mean, you can't win that fucking game, because from a basic sort of direction, they're not interested in actually having a conversation. But I mean, even before you get to that point, the actual word, like the words themselves, were specifically formulated to invoke very specific ideas that put anyone who wants to defend making money on a back foot.
Yeah.
It's, what the hell does capitalism mean?
I mean, capitalism, as we both know, and obviously it's a redundant question, or it's a self-explaining question if you know anything about economics, is the trade in.
It isn't, though. That's the thing.
It should be, though.
Multiple different people will tell you multiple different things, and the fun part about it is it's deliberately formulated in such a way that they're all right, because for the purpose of right-wingers, they'll be like, oh, well, we'll use capitalism, because, it was thought up by Marx, but we'll use it as our term, which is stupid, because then you're listening to their language, but...
Yeah.
Hey-ho. So, we'll use it for just meaning the buying and selling of goods.
Buying and selling of goods and private
broad.
ownership specifically, because it does have to do with, like, specifically private ownership. But those 3 things are the most, buying and trading and bartering, that's all under
broad,
capitalism.
Capitalism just means buying and selling of goods.
Yes.
Right? That is not how it is used by the left.
No.
The way they use it is a completely different way that is deliberately envisioned to make it so you cannot fight against it. Because capitalism, to the left, means what anyone else would call cronyism, but yeah.
I mean, cronyism is a specific term, and it's extremely important to recognize that term.
Term.
Yeah, it is.
But, they mean it in the sense of a bunch of assholes who already have money coming along saying, hey, I've got money, I'm going to use my money to get more money and deprive you of what money you already had. It's a whole level of essentially straw manning, but it's baked into the actual words themselves. So, when they're using it like that, you come along and you say, oh, well, no, I'm a capitalist, and they've already set you up as their diametrically opposed enemy. So,
yeah,
it's arguing with people that just aren't listening.
That's true, but it was actually the term I was actually thinking of as corporatism, not cronyism. Corporatism is a political and economic theory that advocates for the organization of society and the economy into syndicates or corporate groups like agriculture, labor, military, or guild associations based on shared interests. This is a fundamental corporatism is actually a Marxist concept, broadly speaking, because socialism is corporatism. Just the way that they word it is going to be different, so they're effectively lying to you. But the way that
But you have to be careful because they're all idiots, so they all have their own view of how to set up their own socialist utopia.
Well, yes. But broadly speaking, the reason that they manipulate the term capitalism is they kind of have this issue where they associate greed with capitalism. But the reason that this is a transparent lie to anyone with a fucking brain is the fact that greed is a phenomena that is human-based, not system-based.
Like in their worldview.
Their worldview is dumb. But
yeah.
But this is a photo that actually shows Bernie Sanders. Or let me hold you on that one real quick. This is a picture that kind of explains like why Bernie Sanders and why all socialists, because they're all exactly like this. They are identical in this way always. And pay attention. Bernie Sanders, December 23rd, 2015. You want to keep the minimum wage low and give breaks to millionaires at real Donald Trump? That's not what makes America great. Not a millionaire, because he hadn't made $1 million yet. Are we comfortable to see a huge increase in millionaires and billionaires, but have more people living in poverty than ever? I know I'm not. December 23rd, 2016. Not a millionaire. Are we comfortable as a nation to see a huge increase in millionaires and billionaires, but have more people living in poverty than ever? January 6th, 2017. Not a millionaire. And then finally, billionaires should not exist. September 24th, 2019, around the time that Bernie Sanders himself became a millionaire. And ever since then, he will not say the word millionaires because he is a millionaire. These people are always just greedy, entitled little shits who are jealous that there are people who have more money than them at the end of the day. And if you want to know why, I personally don't support more taxes, which I am slightly more left than Armin on this one because Armin's, well, not left.
Slightly.
Slightly more left on this because it's a left of center like policy idea as far as I'm concerned. I am not inherently against taxes, assuming that I get to vote on what those taxes are and there is a strict adherence to what those taxes do, which is not a system that we currently live under, which is why I think the taxes should be outright abolished in this particular instance. But let me actually lay this out so you understand. If Bernie Sanders was actually honest about what he was saying, what he would be doing is he'd be fighting against illegal immigration. He would be wanting to protect the borders. He would be for filing charges against individuals who hire illegals because they are he used to be for closed borders, or not for closed borders. He used to be for deporting illegals and for enforcing borders. He actually said that open borders was a Koch brothers conspiracy to actually import slave labor. And now he's the one advocating on behalf of it. Color me shocked. But I'm for supplemental services. Like, I'm okay with things like SNAP. I'm okay with things like WIC, or like food stamps, etc., and all of our social like services that we have. I'm just not okay with the way that they're used. And I can actually give a story about this because it's something that drives me nuts. And for the record, me and Armin are both going to, how one says, behave with what I'm about to say because we both have shared thoughts on this, but we're trying not to get deleted by YouTube. Which is to say that whenever I was living with my mother, a long time ago, it was after I got back from the Air Force. My brother was still living with my mom, and, or no, it wasn't. It was before the Air Force. I was still living with my mom. I was actually getting ready to head out to the Air Force within a year or so. My brother was living with us because he's a year and 9 months younger than I am. And then our little sister was also living with our mom, and she had already gotten divorced from her ex-husband. I was working, she was working, my little brother couldn't work at the time, and because he was a bit young, or we'd only had one ability to, we had limited transportation ability at the time, and we needed somebody to stay home with our little sister, or my little sister. So he would watch her when she got home from school, and me and my mom worked. I tried to get on food stamps, and it took me like pulling teeth to get on food stamps. And the reason was because, and I can tell you that this isn't a joke, this isn't a lie, this is something that I have confirmed through years of actual, like, confirmations by talking to varying different people. I got limited food stamps because I was white. Because I was a white male, that is what the reality was. And if you want to know why, it's because I live in the South, and the majority of people who work at the social services place are black women. And the only person who finally confirmed me for food stamps at all was an elderly white woman. I had to fight to get on food stamps despite the fact that we weren't making nearly enough, and the fact that I was having to work alongside my mother while she was trying to get certifications to actually get higher pay at her job, which means she wasn't able to work nearly as much. This should not be something that is allowed to happen. Because I've talked to people, black Americans specifically, who are proud of the fact that they are on some sort of governmental assistance programs, and I've been told that they don't actually have to meet any prerequisites. I was on unemployment at one point in time that, again, I had to fight for a limited time because I was told I had to apply for 40 hours of work a week. Or go into stores and get letters from hiring managers who are busy throughout the day, where they sign off saying, yes, I actually tried to apply for a job at their store, and get their signature and bring it to the place. I've also talked to other people, typically black men and women, who seem to just, not have to apply for jobs at all in order to get their unemployment benefits. So, again, if the systems worked the way that they were supposed to work, and they were only supplemental for when you needed them at an appropriate amount, I would be fine with them existing. But considering that the entire system is fucking racist, I'm not okay with it existing, and it should be fucking gotten rid of. If people suffer, oh fucking well.
That begs the question, then, isn't it? Is the system actually broken?
There are days.
Intention of the system,
To keep one group of people reliant on the government as a voter bloc? Probably, yeah. But then that's stuff that we have known for years. That's always been the thing. It's basically a functional bribe.
Tell you what, though, we finally agreed with the leftists. It took them half a year, half decade or three, but we finally come around to the position of the system is racist.
Yeah, just not in the way that they believe it to be. But then finally, after my tirade of the fact that I would be okay with certain supplemental services if they actually worked the way that they're supposed to work, not the way that they've been manipulatively programmed to work. We're going to go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But taxing wealth is so normal, people can afford to see a doctor and not go bankrupt over inhalers is radical left. Okay. And they're referring to the Financial Times as SpaceX's 11% share price boost has made Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. And it's always just funny to kind of see these individuals, because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's her net worth is probably in the high hundreds of thousands, if not the millions currently. And she went from being a bartender to being extremely rich by most people's standards. which, to be fair, the average, like, the top 1% in the United States only make about $400,000 to $500,000 a year, and that's the top 1%. The people who are above them are like high-tier millionaires and trillionaires, sure, or millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires, whatever, but a lot of those people's worths are all still tied up in stock. The reason that these people are economically illiterate is explicitly on purpose, because they're trying to emotionally manipulate you and say that the reason that you're having problems is because there are people who have more money than you or more things than you, etc. And the reality is, they are the bourgeois that they are pretending that they are not. They're trying to sell you on the fact that they're actually the fighting proletariat. They're not. And at the end of the day, for those of you hardcore activists out there who aren't them specifically, you'll never understand until it's too late. You're going to be the first to be lined up against the wall. You're not going to be the dictatorship of the proletariat. You're really just not. The people who own power currently, who are at the lower end of the power scaling, they are going to be the ones with the power. You are not. You think you're going to be worth something in their new system, but the reality is, just like Che Guevara, just like Fidel Castro, just like Stalin, just like Mao, just like every other socialist and communist dictator, first they'll kill the activists that fought for the system that they got put into power for. Then they'll kill the gays. Then they'll kill the rest of the undesirables. And then the people who are going to be left to suffer through their systems are the rest of us that don't opt to fight back because we'd rather live. And history has told this story over and over and over, and most of you are just too dumb to actually research that on your own. All right, we've been going.
Fundamentally opposed to being told what to do by a woman that ugly.
Yeah, it's funny because Alex Stein calls her a big booty Latina, but she's really not attractive. She's very mid.
He has the face of a horse.
She kind of does. Hold on, let's. Yeah, she's not that pretty. I'm never like fond of just like attacking someone's looks, but she just
go for it. It's great.
She's
fun.
not personable at all, and she just yeah, she doesn't look great.
No, attack looks, attack fucking mannerisms. Go for it. They're not gonna argue with you on fucking debatable points, so fuck it, why not?
Yeah, but this is a fun picture too, actually. Do the rich pay their fair share, quote unquote, in income taxes? Individuals in this income bracket earned this share of the share of all income and paid this share of all the income taxes. If 1 million plus, you earned 15.5%, paid 39%. 500K to 1 million, 7.5 earning, paid 14.5. 200K to 500K, earned 24.3, paid 29.9. That's a much bigger bracket. Jesus. Well, that's also because that's where the largest grouping of wealthy Americans are actually at. 150K to 200K, 11.4 earned, paid 29.9, and then it just gets lower. The reality is they always say pay your fair share, but the result is always the fact that they do always pay their fair share. Like, they always use manipulative language to say they aren't paying enough, they aren't paying their fair share. There was a person the other day on Twitter. I actually looked at their profile.
I never understood that. Like, what exactly is the fair share of another person's income?
For these people, probably everything, or 99%.
Is it half?
I've heard the
Is
argument.
it
No, it's like 90.
Like...
It's actually 99%. I've actually argued with several of these individuals on a couple of different occasions. And one of the things that I've...
fair share even... That's just...
Well, see, if you have more money than other people by a substantial amount, you're clearly not paying enough in taxes. And the result is these people want that money going into the government.
Okay, but you're gonna be... Right, so, say you're out on the street, you're some fucking protest or whatever, some dysgenic troglodyte comes up to you, starts saying, "Oh, do you support blah blah fucking blah and people paying their fair share?"
Yeah.
You know, like, what the hell do they mean by fair share? Like, what's that money going towards?
So
Some fucking I don't know. Shit, what the fuck can I say?
I mean, realistically, I can tell you where it goes. I mean, I know where it goes. We both do, but so
Yes, but I'm not allowed to use the naughty words.
hey, we're allowed to talk about the WEF, okay? The WEF, the fucking CIA, the NGOs, like all of those things are where that money ends up going, and a lot of it ends up funneled back into
Well, yeah,
organizations
practically,
like
but the
Act
actual
Blue.
fucking troglodyte on the street isn't thinking, ah, yes, Mr. Stein in Switzerland is going to get all the lovely, lovely pennies so he can jump about in his fucking Uncle Scrooge-esque swimming pool. No,
Yeah.
he's thinking it's going to go to some shit, I don't know, single mother in, like, Nevada or some shit.
Well, that's the thing is it's literally brainwashing and emotional manipulation, which is exactly what
Well, who knows?
leftists
Maybe they do
rely
think
on.
it'll go towards, like, just the most undeserving group possible.
Well, they think that it's actually going to go, like, they literally believe the propaganda. They believe that it'll help single mothers pay for childcare. They literally think that it's helping the homeless.
I mean,
They
practically
believe
speaking,
that
I
it's...
feel like we had this conversation in 2016. Back when Trump first got elected, people were saying, hey, you know, what do these people want? And it actually kind of depended on who you asked. Because if you asked the white activists, they'll be screaming bloody murder about solidarity, but, you know, anyone who's darker than beige, let's say, you know, they were usually quite happy to explain that no, they were doing it to take money from the white man.
I mean, yeah, there's still videos floating around about, like, people from Mexico talking about how they hate it in America, but how they're not able to earn a living in Mexico, so they're literally saving up money to move back to Mexico because Mexico's better than America. And I'm like, okay, you realize you dismantled your entire statement by saying you can't make a living in the country you want to go back to. So you're literally trying to make a lot of money because you know that it's worth more in the country that you came from. And you're literally just ripping Americans off to go back to a country that you realistically don't like because people there can't make a living. So you're not only ripping off Americans, but you're going back to your country that the dollar goes so much further in, and you can't even stay there because of how awful things are. Like, these people don't think at all. But this is kind of like what the everyman who is believing this propaganda do actually think that this money is going to help people. But if Nick Shirley proved anything in all of his reporting, it's that this money is going into NGOs. This money was going into USAID, which was we know at this point that USAID was being used by the CIA to destabilize governments around the world
Yeah,
in
thanks
different
for that.
countries. And it's weird because a lot of these people who are anti-colonialism are literally supporting colonizing these governments using organizations like USAID. And it's like, doublethink doesn't even cover how stupid these people are.
Well, remember, it's not doublethink, it's just that they're evil.
A lot of the actual communists and socialists are evil. The rest are just useful idiots. Unfortunately.
I think it's fairly safe at this point in time. We can say if you're a useful idiot, you got there by being just a terrible human being.
I mean, there is
Like,
a good phrase.
Okay, if you're a useful idiot that goes, oh, I want to redistribute wealth from the rich people to some crack fiend single mother in the Bronx, yeah? You're not saying funnel all the money to, like, Klaus Schwab, but you're still saying take all the fucking money. You are, for all intensive purposes, a useful idiot, but, you know, you're still a piece of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I think that Tim
Like, I'm not
Pool.
going to have any sympathy for the asshole that's saying I need to be killed so some third world scumbag can take my shit and light it on fire because they don't understand how to use a central heating system.
Yeah, and then piss on the ashes. But I mean, this kind of goes into, and it's one of the biggest reasons that I occasionally still watch Tim Pool. He has a term for this that is underutilized by a large, by a large amount, and it's called the banality of evil, which is the fact that they're effectively complicit in evil, despite the fact that they don't think that they're committing an evil act. And while they might not be explicitly evil, they are complicit in evil.
I think that's giving people too much credit. I'm going to be honest.
Let me make sure because
No, okay. Let me posit the question. Right? If they didn't think they were doing evil, if you showed them proof that they were actually doing wrong, they would change their ways. These people don't do that. I think they're fully cognizant of the fact that what they're doing is pretty fucking morally suspect.
For a lot of these people, yes, but let me actually read. Sorry, I say banality. It's banality. The banality of evil
Fine.
is a concept coined by political philosopher Hannah Arendt. Fucking hell.
Oh fuck, that's a name and a half.
Arendt. In her 1963 book, Eichmann and Jerusalem, a report on the banality of evil. It describes how immense atrocities can be committed not by sadistic monsters, but by ordinary, unthinking bureaucrats who simply comply with the rules and systems around them.
I wanted the fun self-report as well. Like, I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's really funny, because it's just a ton of self-reports of, yeah, so this guy was hiding in a country who we didn't have jurisdiction to go get, so went in and got him anyway.
Got him anyway. But I do think that the term makes sense because it's people who they literally abide systems that they believe are good, and they mindlessly follow it. They're fundamentally they are NPCs. Like there's a reason that we a lot of people online, especially the counterculture, like moderates and right wingers, use the term NPC to refer to a lot of these people, and it's because they are literally in a cult. And it's funny because we get called NPCs all the time by these people, and they're like, "Oh, y'all are on a cult. Y'all worship Trump. Blah 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 blah." It's like, no, actually, I have spent the majority of my time talking about how there are things that Trump does that I don't like. There are things that the Republican right in the United States has done that I don't like. And even in the UK, the freaking what's our right wing part?
People still care about what Trump's up to.
Yeah, I know. What is the right wing party in the not Reform, but what y'all had beforehand? Wasn't it not Labour?
We don't have a right wing party in the UK.
Wasn't there Labour supposedly right wing or something like that, or
God,
was that?
No.
Or was
not
that?
Even close.
Oh, what was
No,
the one
we
that
have-
was claiming to be right wing?
We have various shades of Uniparty, and then a 2001 centre-right party by the name of Restore.
Oh
It's
yeah.
about the last option for genuinely attempting to fix anything, but
Yeah, restore.
mean-
Even restore. Like people are like, oh, just the problem with all of this, and it does kind of go into the still stays into economics as policy, as policy, economics as policy, was specifically one of those things where people are following what they believe to be the truth, when in reality, a lot of the time it's not. Because even going back to Bernie Sanders doesn't believe half of what he says. I can guarantee you, he doesn't give a shit about millionaires. He doesn't give a shit about billionaires. The reality is, he wants your money because that money gets funneled.
But here's the thing, right? I don't care what the hell he has to say anymore.
Well, no one does.
Back in 2014 or 2015, but nowadays, I don't have any fucking money. What is there to steal? Like, it's not economics as policy anymore, it's ethnicity as policy.
I mean, they are doing that too. And it's unfortunate because it's mass migration in the West, broadly
And
speaking.
to that, I'm afraid I've rather gone down the fun little track of come and get me.
Yeah, no, I very much understand that sentiment. Uh, I am not far off from that. Actually, I think I'm at that point. But it's just the reason for the topic today, obviously, is kind of like to go over this and let people know this is what's going on. This is what, people are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. And of course, you're always going to have to deal with that. People are always going to have to deal with propaganda. The unfortunate reality that a lot of us have to submit to, as one would put it, is that you are always going to deal with people who do not have your best interest in mind, and they will try to sell you a pretty little lie as an attempt to pad their own wallets, to pad their own power, money. It doesn't matter, because money doesn't always
At least
equal
they're in
power.
hot pants.
Yeah, I know, right?
Pretty little line.
Yeah,
They
they
don't dress them up anywhere near as good as they used to.
they really don't. Like, their lies are so transparent at this point, it's kind of astounding that anybody still actually believes them.
Well, do people? Emperor has no clothes and all that.
Yeah.
You know that they're telling you bullshit, but you stand up and say, hey, that guy's an idiot. Fuck him. Where does it get you?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think probably what has led to the reality that we're living in now, outside of just unchecked stupidity, is
Dreidel, I made it out of clay.
is not just unchecked stupidity, but also Marxism in the inside of academia is probably one of the bigger causes for this, because they don't want you to be able to think critically. They don't want you to be able to think for yourself. They want you to be a part of their causes. They don't need you to logically think out what the results of what they want are, because if you ever actually did, you'd realize what they want. So under education is actually part of the goal. They're teaching you to be activists nowadays rather than teaching you to be sufficient in thought. But that is
Do
probably
a better job of teaching people to be activists then.
rather than gluing their hands to pavement in Volvo shops.
Well, it might have been a playbook that worked. Things have changed so fucking rapidly, man. It's
They
You know,
have.
it used to be that you could do shit like that and people would tolerate some gaggle fuck of retards doing that. Like, I know at least 13 different fucking people that, if they had to encounter any of that crap on their drive to work, would just fucking plow through them.
In several states, it is legal to do it because that state views it
but
as
this
a
is
safety
we're
hazard.
talking about, like, the faggoting government that is, the British government,
Oh, well,
UK,
yeah.
UK aesthetic, as it were,
UK aesthetic. But we live in clown world. That is an unfortunate reality. And hopefully, one can hope that things get better, and all we can do is push people to kind of see what's going on. I mean, are we going to be successful? Only time will tell. We can hope for the best, but always expect the worst. Anyways, this has been your Doors Extended Warranty, and my guest, Armin. I appreciate you joining me on this lovely endeavor talking about absolute morons. You want to say anything before we go, sir?
Interesting, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah.
And yeah, this has been another episode of Foxy Freedom Snapping Turtle. Episode 3. I hope to see all of you in the future, and y'all have a good day. Deuces.